Welcome to Master and Padawan. It's our show. We love Star Wars. I'm Aaron. This is my daughter Lacey. And we're coming to you from an undisclosed location inside the Star Wars universe because the Empire might find out where we are. Anyways, we love to talk Star Wars. We're going to do that every week. The thing that we're going to do different, it's not those grown-up shows where they all talk about how movies are made and who should do this. No. We're going to talk about stuff that kids want to hear about, right? The things that kids are going to talk about and try to give you information so you can share it with your friends. Lacey, what are you thinking about The Last Jedi that just came out on DVD and Blu-ray?
I'm really happy of how it ended, and we experienced something new that we didn't know was able to happen.
With Luke, right?
Yeah. And we found out more about how Kylo Ren became...
Kylo Ren?
Yeah, how Kylo Ren became Kylo Ren.
That's right.
Yeah.
So he was Ben Solo, which is the son of Han and Leia, and he was Luke's Padawan, and he turned to the dark side, and we learned about how that happened, how that came about, and that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
So that kicks off our first segment, which is what's going on. So we're talking about what's going on in the news, what are the happenings, what's the big announcements coming up for Star Wars fans. Unfortunately, like when I was growing up, it was movie, wait 3 years, movie, wait 3 years, movie. Now we're getting a lot more happening going on. You've got animated shows, you got TV shows, you got movies, you got books, you got comics. There's all kinds of stuff to talk about. So The Last Jedi came out on DVD and Blu-ray March 27th, and we got to see some things from maybe a different perspective than when you see them in the theater, because it's the first time you're seeing it on the big screen. You get to watch at home, have some popcorn, sit on the couch, and watch those scenes. I really liked all the stuff between Luke and Rey, because anytime there's scenes with the Jedi, count me in, whether it's the Jedi or even the bad guys. Like, if lightsabers are involved, I'm there. So seeing all that stuff, that was really cool. And we kind of got to see a little bit more understanding of what Luke was thinking, and watching, which I would recommend either on the DVD or Blu-ray, the extras, which give you some more understanding of what the thought was with Luke, where he kind of was with his mindset, because we hadn't seen him for 30 years until the end of The Force Awakens, when she's handing him the lightsaber, like, hey, here's your old lightsaber. Will you train me? Like Yoda did when Yoda trained Luke, but he didn't want to have anything to do with it. So we kind of understand more where his mindset was after watching The Last Jedi, which was cool. Any other thoughts on The Last Jedi? Finally getting to see it at home?
Well,
The Porgs were adorable. I think the Porgs are better, like as far as the cute factor. I think the Porgs are cuter than like the Ewoks, because the Ewoks have spears and weapons and stuff, and the Porgs just want to hang out.
Yeah.
Anything else that you caught from watching it at home the second, third, or fourth time?
So, since I was aware of the Luke situation, I noticed all of the signs that led up to showing what was going to happen, which
good.
I thought was really cool.
Right. We also just had the season finale, the series finale. So the show is over. Rebels, 4 seasons, comes to an end with this huge finale. Not to spoil it for anybody, but if you haven't seen Rebels, it's the same creator behind the Clone Wars cartoons. If you saw the Clone Wars cartoons, they fill in a gap in the Star Wars chronology, the timeline of Star Wars in the years between episode 2 and 3. Rebels does that between episode 3 and 4. So we had all these great characters. Who was your favorite character in Rebels?
My favorite character in Rebels was either Chopper or Zeb.
That's good choices, good choices. I would go, at being a Jedi fan, I would go with Kanan. But Hera was awesome too. She's a great leader. And Sabine. I mean, they're all great characters. They're all fun. So it's kind of interesting to see where that's going to go, because they left it kind of open on what's going to happen next after the events of Rebels finale. There could be more. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The next thing is, so The Last Jedi was episode 8. The next movie in that series is episode 9. We've heard recently that the script is done. So the director, J.J. Abrams, who's writing the script, he did The Force Awakens. So the same director that did The Force Awakens is also doing episode 9, which it's called episode 9 because it doesn't have a name yet. We know that the script's done. They're going to start filming at the end of July. So they're a couple months away from starting filming the movie, and it doesn't come out until December of 2019. So that's December of next year. But it takes time to make these movies. What are you looking forward to with episode 9?
I'm looking forward to how it would go, and if it's anything like The Last Jedi.
Right.
And also I'm looking forward to how they end the Luke Skywalker trilogy.
Right, because they call it the Skywalker saga, because it starts with Anakin when he's a little kid in episode 1, all the way through Luke and Leia being born, and Luke Skywalker being the last Jedi. So episode 9 is going to end that whole saga. So it's got to come to some kind of an end between Kylo and the First Order and our heroes and the Resistance. Also recently announced there's going to be a live-action Star Wars TV series. So that's just like a TV show, not an animated cartoon series. An actual TV show with real actors. They have announced that it's going to happen in the fall of 2019, so late next year. It's going to come out with a Disney streaming service, so you're going to be able to watch these at home, on your tablet, on your laptop, on your desktop computer. And these are going to be weekly shows that you don't have to wait 2 years or 3 years for the next movie to come out, or a year. You're going to be able to watch these shows kind of like we did with Rebels or the Clone Wars when those were a weekly thing.
I'm excited because then we would have something to watch between while the movies are being made.
Mm-hmm.
So then we wouldn't have to wait for a very long time before we can watch the next movie when it comes out.
Right, and we don't know what it's going to be about yet. We don't know if it's going to continue in the timeline after episode 9. We don't know if it's going to go back in time somewhere in the previous movies, between movies or whatever. We're just going to have to wait and see. Obviously, when we hear more, we'll share that with you guys. The director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson, he's going to be doing a new trilogy. So we're going to get episode 9. We're going to get Han Solo movie, which is coming out next month. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then we're going to get this new TV series, and we're going to get this new trilogy, which we don't know if it's going to be after episode 9. We don't know if it's going to be somewhere earlier in the timeline. But we know that it has nothing to do with the Skywalkers. So it's no Skywalkers, none of the current characters. It's going to be somewhere in the Star Wars universe. What do you think about that?
I'm really looking forward to it because that means we'll be able to meet new characters.
Mm-hmm.
And it also means that they're not going to be ending the Star Wars anytime soon.
Exactly. More Star Wars. That's what we're looking forward to. Okay, our next segment is I Can't Wait For. This is where we talk about something that's coming up that we just can't wait for it to come out. This week we're talking about Solo, A Star Wars Story, which comes out May 25th. The trailer came out on April 8th. It's all about Han Solo, Chewbacca, Lando, when they're younger, before the original Episode 4. What do you think?
I'm really excited to see what what Han Solo's life was like before he was in the first movie that he was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also hoping that it shows how Chewbacca and Han Solo came to meet each other.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see the young Han Solo. I'm still a little cautious about it because it's hard to go backwards in time with a character, and it's only a couple years younger than the Han Solo in the Episode 4 A New Hope. So we're going to see a young Lando, which is kind of cool because in Empire Strikes Back he shows up and it's like, who's this guy? Well, I used to know him, but they seem like they were friends, but maybe they're not so good of friends, and maybe we'll find out why they're not so good of friends. But they have a history together, so that's kind of cool. And there's some new characters, obviously, they're going to introduce. And we get to see Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon, which from the trailer we've seen, it looks like the Falcon's brand new compared to how it looks in the later movies when it's dirty and banged up and kind of broken. Our next segment is the favorite segment. Each week we're going to talk about our favorite thing, something in the Star Wars universe that is our favorite. This week we're talking about our favorite droid. Lacey, who's your favorite droid?
My favorite droid is BB-8 because he's really funny and he has a lighter that, like a thumbs up lighter.
Right.
And also...
That gives a thumb up to Finn in The Force Awakens. Yep, that was cool.
And also in The Last Jedi, he had a whole bunch of coins in him because one of the characters thought he was some kind of machine.
Right.
Then he helped DJ, the smuggler, escape from the jail that they were in.
Yep.
And he did that by throwing all of the coins that he had.
Which was cool to see him shooting them out.
Yeah. He was carrying one piece of the map.
To Luke Skywalker.
Which was pretty cool.
Right, because if he doesn't get that out of there when the First Order comes at the beginning of The Force Awakens, then they never get the map to Luke Skywalker. So that was a big deal. But definitely, hands down, my number one is R2-D2, the classic, the original. He's been in every Star Wars movie except for Rogue One. He saves the day over and over again. In Episode 1, he saved Padme's ship from the blockade. In Episode 2, he saved Padme from the lava in the droid factory. In Episode 3, he saved Anakin from the buzz droids that were all over his ship as they were going to try to save the Chancellor. In Episode 4, A New Hope, when Luke and Han and Chewbacca and Leia, they're stuck in that garbage smasher, he stops it so they don't get smashed. If he doesn't do that, the series is over and the Empire wins. He's also carrying the Death Star plans that Princess Leia gave him at the beginning of the movie that he brings to the rebellion so that they can analyze it and figure out the weakness, which they do. If he doesn't have that, they can't blow up the Death Star. In Episode 5 in Empire Strikes Back, he fixes the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon, which they thought was fixed at Cloud City. Lando said, my people fixed it, but they didn't. Episode 6, he's got Luke's lightsaber. When they're going to face off with Jabba, he's got Luke's lightsaber, the green lightsaber. And he shoots the lightsaber out. Luke grabs it, ignites it, cuts down the bad guys. So without that, they don't defeat Jabba. In Episode 7, he's got the map to Luke, which we kind of talked about with BB-8. He was in low power mode and he had that map the whole time. In Episode 8, The Last Jedi, the big softy R2-D2 comes out with the hologram of Princess Leia, which basically compares Luke to Obi-Wan. I think it's an awesome moment, and that's why R2-D2 is my favorite. Our next segment is comments and questions. Now this week, it's our first week, so we don't have any comments and questions, but you could submit those on our YouTube page or via Twitter. We'll have that information on the screen. Maybe you have a comment or a question about something we've already talked about today, and you can submit that to us and we'll talk about it next week. Our next to last segment is called Dad Theory. This is where I give you a theory about something I think is going to happen in a Star Wars movie or a Star Wars show. So we talked about Rebels. It just ended. The creator of that series was also the creator of Star Wars The Clone Wars. I think his next animated show will pick up from the end of Rebels, which we just saw the finale not too long ago. I think his show will take place in the years after Return of the Jedi, which is episode 6, and before The Force Awakens, episode 7. There's 30 years in there of stuff that happens that we haven't seen on screen. I think his show will be that.
If it continued the stories of Rebels, I would watch it, and even if it didn't, I would still watch it.
I think the cool thing is with Rebels is they introduced a whole group of new characters set in the Star Wars world, and it didn't take us long to become attached to these characters and like them and root for them. And by the end of the series, based on where they go, because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, you got to watch Rebels and Clone Wars. They're great series, and they're half-hour shows, so you can watch a few at a time or one at a time if you don't have the time. But they give so much more to the Star Wars universe. That you go to planets that you haven't seen in the movies. They go to these other characters that it kind of just fills in all the gaps. Our last segment is Lacey's Star Wars Facts. Each week, Lacey's going to bring us 2 facts from the Star Wars universe. Lacey, what do you got?
So the first fact is the average lifespan for a Wookiee is 400 years.
400 years, that's a long time. The good thing is we know that Chewbacca is about 234 years old in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. So we know that he's only like middle age. If they can live to be 400 years old, those Wookiees, and he's only 234, then we know that he's going to be around a while, which is awesome because Chewbacca is one of my favorite characters. And obviously he's shown up in a lot of the movies. All right, what's your second fact this week?
Wookiees speak
Shriwook? It's a hard word
Shriwook?
because it's not English, really. It's Shriwook, which is the dialect that the Wookiees speak. And it's not a language that humans, because their vocal cords, they just don't make those noises. So,
other than you.
Only a few people can actually understand, other than like C-3PO, who's a translator droid, protocol droid. Not everybody can understand the Wookiees. Like Han can, Rey can, Luke can, probably through the Force, but it's a hard language to understand, and it's an even harder language to speak. So thanks for those 2 Star Wars facts. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. And if you like our show, please like the video, subscribe to it, our channel, or share the video with your friends. We'll see you next time.
And may the Force be with you.